Hey everyone, thanks for coming and hello to everyone watching online. So my name is Johan Vilir and today I will be talking about representing VC-backed startups, which is a big topic here in the Bay Area, right? Everyone wants to represent the next Anthropic, the next OpenAI, these companies that scale very, very fast from 5 employees to 100 in 6 months to 1,000 in the next couple of years, right? So this is an extremely competitive market to be in San Francisco. I really do not envy any commercial brokers trying to represent VC-backed tenants, right? So you have competition from everyone left and right. And then a lot of the times I heard that these founders are very, very hard to reach. And then once you have reached them, it's very hard to keep their attention, right? So you usually, the word on the street is that you're dealing with a Harvard dropout, MIT dropout, 22-year-old adult, and they think that they know everything, they can do everything on their own. So, and then they just raised, $2 million, which is more money than God ever created, right? So they don't think that a commercial broker adds much value to their office search. And so today, I'm going to talk about how to talk to those specific founders of VC-backed startups, how to keep their attention, and how to make sure that they come back to you once they're ready for their Series A, their Series B, and beyond, and they start to grow their footprint in this city. All right, so number one is a problem that it has 1,000 different creative solutions, which is where do you find these founders? How do you find them? So I will share some of the secrets that I have heard around the Bay Area about how to meet these founders. So one of those places are events that are organized by some of the development or dev tools companies. So GitHub has an open calendar that anyone, I would suggest, can go check out. OpenAI, AWS, Loft, so on and so forth. So that is the first place where I will look at into how to find the contacts of these people. Most events in San Francisco run out of a platform called Luma, right? So in Luma specifically, what I will suggest is that you go to every event where you think that there will be a founder, you RSVP for those events, even if you don't plan on going, right, as long as it's free. And after that, you can get a list of every single attendee. And I won't go into details into how to do that to avoid some technical talk. But basically, you can get all their emails, their names, their Twitter, their YouTube if they have a link to Luma. And I will start to create a database of every founder that you might want to interact with, right? So that is the first step. Get on the door, give them a call if you get a phone number, and start to build a relationship, right? Relationship is the primary goal that you should go for with these founders. Talk to them, ask them about what they're building, who they're serving, how do they get paid, and so on. Another thing that I'm seeing is that a lot of commercial brokers that want to talk to VC-backed founders, they're also angel investors. So when you become an angel investor, founders come to you, and if they have a company that is growing and you become an investor on the cap table, you'll be one of the first persons to know that, right? So, and this can be overused. I've seen some people kind of like pose as angel investors. Please don't do that. Founders are very good at sniffing out if you actually have capital to invest in their startup. So make it genuine. Do make an effort to understand what these founders do, to understand if they fit your investment thesis, have an investment thesis at the very least, and see how these founders meet that thesis. I would say is the best approach there. Once you're on their cap table, even for a small check, some founders take even as low as $2,000 of a new investment. but now you have a foot on the door, understanding their growth, right? So that is the second trick that I've seen, not really that trick, technique that I've seen brokers in the Bay Area do in order to meet and keep VC-backed founders on the Rolodex. Great. So once you do have that founder, right, your next job is to keep their attention, because very likely you're not the only commercial broker that they're talking to. They're usually talking to 10 or 20 brokers. Their cousin knows somebody that does real estate in San Francisco. The founder, thinking they could do it on their own, they went to LoopNet, they went to Craigslist, they found a few office spaces, they went to Craigslist. And they reached out to the listing broker on their own, right? And they don't know that tenant representation is free for them. They don't know that you are looking for the best interest, and a broker that is representing both sides is not doing that. They don't know that, right? This is usually their first time transacting on the market. So a lot of the times they do this because of they're naive, they're new, they're learning the ropes on commercial real estate by trying to do their own deal on their own. And they open a few Craigslist brochures, they talk to a few landlord brokers, and guess what? Even if those spaces don't really fit the criteria of the founder, the broker will reach out to them. Hey, listen, like I saw that you opened my brochure on Craigslist. How does that space work for your team? Oh, it doesn't? Okay, great. What are you looking for? Do you mind if I do a search for you? And now you're competing against 10 brokers that are all targeting the same founder, right? So the next job is to keep the attention of the founders. And you do this in a lot of different ways. But one of the main things that I see brokers struggle is that VC-backed founders, they need everything for yesterday, right? So when they know they need a space, they're closing around. They needed a space to move in yesterday. So some of the brokers in the Bay Area, they might have a flow where they do a search for a VC-backed startup, and then they send it to the marketing director. And that takes 2 or 3 days for them to put a nice presentation. And now the broker is calling the founder saying, hey, we have these spaces. When can you get on a call to go over the spaces that we found for you? And the answer is probably maybe right now or maybe in the next 2 weeks, if it's not a super priority. But also, let me make sure that I rally my team and see when we can all be on the same page. So it takes a lot of effort and time to try to connect everyone synchronously, right? So what I'm going to show you is how Gravitate addresses those pain points, which is how do we keep the attention of VC-backed startups by being very responsive, being very fast, instead of waiting 2 or 3 days for your marketing team to give you back the results. So let me show you basically what the industry does today. This is what I will say 80% of your competition as a broker looks like in the Bay Area. They talk to a founder, they need a space, they do a search, and then they put everything into a spreadsheet, right? So all the data is there, right? Number one, it took a little time to aggregate all the data from different sources. Number two, have you ever tried to open a spreadsheet in your phone? It doesn't really work, right? So if you're receiving this from the broker that you're working with, you're going to be waiting until you go back to your computer to open it. So those little, that adds friction to a feedback loop of getting a founder to a space, all right? So I'm going to show you how, number one, to put something like this together in 5 minutes, and number two, how to make it more founder-friendly so that we can have a mobile version of this spreadsheet that a founder can open at any point and give you feedback about the search. So let's role play for a second. You met a founder and they're looking for an office space in San Francisco. Let's say they have only 5 people at the time. So here are all the spaces that meet the criteria, right? So this is how you normally would go about finding these spaces, right? So you might go into LoopNet, you might go into other data sources like CoStar and Craigslist. So once you have these spaces, the next thing that we need to do is we need to open an empty spreadsheet and connect it to the Gravitate browser AI extension. So we do that by pasting the URL link. So now we just connected this spreadsheet to the entire browser. So as we go through these data sources, we can send any data that we found to this spreadsheet in a structured way. So there's a few quick presets. Let's say that we're working on an office space. There's a few data points that you can pick to send over. So I'm going to leave those as they are. And now we have the connection established between the browser and this spreadsheet, which is where all the data is going to be aggregated at. Let's go back to our search. This is the part that AI will never be able to automate, right? So you know the client, you talk to them, you understand what they're looking for in a space. So once you bring all that to the table, you decide what spaces work for them. You can open these spaces in a few different tabs. So our AI will, sorry, I usually do this on Zoom so I can like point at things, but our AI will inject action buttons into any data source, or it will add it to the side. So in this case, it found a space to add an action button here. So when I click, this is not part of this website, by the way. This is just something that the AI added to the website so that we can transfer all this data to the spreadsheet. So when we say, okay, let's save this specific property, the AI is going to come to this page. It's going to do a job finding all these data points that we asked it. So the parking space, the brochure, the building size. And if we go back to the spreadsheet, here's all the data now transfer. So traditionally, a brokerage has a research team that does this for them, right? That's why it takes 2 or 3 days. The AI grabs all the images as well. It puts them outside of any potential paywall that they might be in. It grabs the brochures if we found it in the website. And so we can go to the next one, and to the next source, and to the next source. So now I just fire 3 AI agents to go into each one of those tabs, and the data starts to flow to the spreadsheet that we just connected. So this is like the pseudo database at this point. So great. That works fine for this specific data source, but it really works for any data source that you access via your browser. So I know the San Francisco market is not very heavy on Craigslist, but let's do it an example with Craigslist. So let's do the same search. Let's do for the size 2,000 square feet to about 3,500 square feet. Let's apply that size. Let's grab a few of these spaces. Let's grab that one. That one, undisclosed rate, kind of love that. Let's grab a few of these. So now on those specific websites, the AI didn't really find a good place to place the action button, so you just added it to the side, right? So I can say save this property, go to the next one, do the same, as you go through these specific properties. So all the data starts to flow on the exact same spreadsheet. We didn't have to worry about formatting any of the data. The AI is smart enough to understand that some columns might be called something different in different data sources, right? So once that's done, we have all the data aggregated. So in this case, we have about 9 spaces. And let's assume, for the sake of this exercise, that all these spaces meet the criteria for the tenant, the client that we are serving, right? So obviously, this is your spreadsheet. Gravitate just moves data from one place to the other. But at this point, you have 2 options. You can share this specific spreadsheet with the decision makers. That is totally fine. You know your customer. You know if this is what they'll be more receptive to. Or you can create a web application that is mobile friendly. So now the AI just came to this data source, grabbed all the specific data points, and it created this mobile-friendly website where it maps all the properties. So all the properties that we saved, they're all mapped in a 3D map. Your tenant, your client can see different list views, or some people want to see it side by side. And then all the data transfers from the spreadsheet directly to this workspace, right? So the first step was finding all the different data in different data sources. In this case, we were using LoopNet and Craigslist. Next step was to centralize all the data in one place. Once we have all the data centralized, the next step was to make the mapping website where all the data lives in one place. From here, your client can give you a thumbs up, they can give you a thumbs down, they can add comments to any specific properties. So the other day, I was watching a broker come and tour one of the offices that we were living at. And so I see the tenants, the customers walk in, there's like 3 of them, they're running around, they're taking photos, they're taking videos of the space because they need to bring all of those photos back to the other teammates so that they know if the space makes sense. The interesting thing is that this was the first time that those founders were looking at a space. Like this was the first time, they had never seen a photo. And so now there's this broker running around the city with 4 or 5 kids, pretty much, just looking at touring spaces that they don't even work, right? They just didn't have a chance to video the spaces before they left out the door. So we wanted to solve that by adding all the photos and all the media directly into the Gravitate workspace. And this is the result. The workspace itself is mobile friendly. It's actually mobile first so that your clients can see all the properties in one space and they don't have to jump around spreadsheets or jump around other data sources as they might have on the past. So as you notice, especially in the San Francisco market, it's interesting because listing brokers, they don't like to put the asking price or the rate price for the spaces. They always want you to reach out to them, call them, or email them. So that was a headache that gets on the way when you're presenting to a VC-backed tenant and you don't show them prices for the listings. That can become, that is just a hustle, right? Because now your client might be tempted to maybe calling the listing broker and finding out the information on their own. So you might want to do all of that before you send the list. So with Gravitate, we also have an AI agentic system that allows you to do that. So let me go back there. So this is the backend. This is the backend for the report that we just put together during the demo. So here are all the properties. And I did not save any of the emails for this specific. Let me go back here. Find another one. Okay. So this specific demo, I saved all of the emails for the listing brokers. So I can verify that all these properties are still available by just one click, right? So when I click verify properties, our AI is going to put everything together for you to verify with the listing brokers that the listings are still available. So without this, you have to manually email the brokers, each one of the brokers, hey, is this space available? I have in San Francisco, it's mainly office spaces, right? But if you're working in a retail space, you need to tell them what business you're trying to move to this space because it might not work. The landlord might have some reservations about some type of businesses. The biggest example is a smoke shop. If you're trying to serve a smoke shop, there's not many landlords in the country that will want that as a tenant. Don't ask me why, that is just the case, right? So in here, you can add your notes and say, I am serving an AI startup, 25-year-old grads. So the reason why you might want to add information about your client is because even if that space is not available, even if it's available, the listing broker themselves may have a space that works for that tenant that they might represent. So by adding some information about your client, you are giving them the opportunity to present other spaces for you that might work for your specific client. So in this specific report, we only have 4 properties. So if I was to send the verification, our system will send emails to the listing brokers just verifying the listings, making sure they're still available. And once that happens, you know that the properties that you have sent to your client are still available on the market. And there's no really surprises about whether or not they work for your client either. Let's see, go back here. Okay, so that was a lot of information. So I'm going just to recap, just to make sure that we understand what we're solving, right? So when you're representing VC-backed startups, they want you to be fast and responsive. And a lot of the times, in the commercial real estate world, things are slow, right? You have to verify listings. Founders that have never transacted, they don't understand that not everything is available at their fingertips, like Zillow or Redfin, if they're looking for a home or an apartment. But in the commercial real estate world, the data is usually behind a gatekeeper, like a very expensive data source like CoStar, and you cannot share that directly with your client because they don't have access to the photos, they don't have access, there's not a portal that they can look at. So Gravitate solves that by helping you connect any spreadsheet to your browser and extract any properties from any website that you are visiting into a centralized data source. Okay, so once you have a centralized data source, you have several deliverables that you can put together. You can put a web application, a workspace that shows, let me modify a little bit here. Let me see this video. You can have a workspace that has all the properties that your client is interested in a 3D map. They can give you feedback about all these properties, yes, no, or they can give you comments, right? You can make this is mobile friendly so they can see it on their phones as well. And every time that the founder or the client that you send this report to, when they open the link, Gravitate will let you know that they open it in the device that they open it in, right? So I heard this complaint from a broker that has represented a few of these startups. He was saying it's just so very hard to get feedback. He's like, I send them lists and I just never understand if they even look at the things, right? So we solved that by giving them notifications every time that somebody opens the link. We let them know where they open it from, what device. And the point there is that when they open a report on their phones, the broker wanted to call them right away and say, hey, I know you're on your phone, what do you think of these spaces, right? Because representing VC-backed tenants really becomes chasing these founders for feedback, hoping that they're not working with 8 or 10 other brokers about their office needs. The report itself also connects to all of the major LLMs, so ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini. So when you send this report to your clients, they can choose to digest it with Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, or just use any LLMs or their choices, right? So the way that we connect to the LLMs is so that you as the broker come across as the subject matter expert. So if there's any questions that the AI cannot answer for your client, we refer them back to you. So I don't have the answer to that. So please just go refer back to Johan if I was the broker representing this specific case. Great, so I'm going to stop there, see if there are any questions or anything that I can answer for anyone. I know some people kind of got here a little bit later, so if you jump in the middle of something and you have no idea what we're talking about, this is a small crowd. I don't even think I need a microphone, but they put it in front of my face, so I'm using it. Oops, sorry. Thank you. No questions? Okay, great. So if there's no questions, I think you guys get the gist, right? So there's some sort of client deliverable that you want to send to somebody looking for an office space or a retail space or an industrial space. And that deliverable usually takes 2 to 3 days. And this is 80 to 90% of the market. I'm kidding you not. If you are a broker and you want to see what your competitors are doing, fake for once that you are a tenant looking for a space and see how responsive they are. They are not very responsive. They take days to get back to you. So when we built Gravitate, we wanted to give you the advantage of being the most responsive broker in your market. So try, if you haven't, try to reach out to one of your competitors and see how they do business. Especially in San Francisco, it's very interesting. Awesome. So if there's no questions, there's some food in the back, there's some drinks. Please eat it and drink it. And we'll be here, and we'll be here for another 40 minutes or so. So thank you.